going to make this so quick, the summary. Normally I take 15 minutes over this, but basically summary is I'm using all of the Goodman Games books, the Dungeon Alphabet, the Monster Alphabet, and the main book, where I write this adventure online while I'm sitting here. So basically the map behind here, now actually I can get the audio working, is called Scarpsea. I drew this out a couple of weeks ago, and there's a key adventure going on where there's a goddess dying in here. Oh, Judge Darren, so you played in the 13th Skull Day. Oh, that's great. And your handout of NPC characters for us. I was wondering where you got those. NPC character handouts. I think I may have made those, did I? I think I made them. Was that these, by any chance, these little things here with all of the NPCs listed? If it was, that's what I just sketched them out and then I scanned them in and I put them on a serial packet. So it was seriously, you know, making stuff at home really. But yeah, I got little stickers. I did use some stickers to print them onto, and then those were my NPCs. So there's actually the skull itself. Now I did these. Funny enough, I do these for my. I did a set for my Dungeons and Dragons games as well. And in hindsight, both of them need re-editing because both of them are a bit rubbish, really. I mean, the Dungeons and Dragons one has all their huge stat block there with stuff, but the main thing for me while I'm playing online is that I fill in the damage boxes down here. So if I've got multiple creatures, well, there's a Dungeons and Dragons Flab Giant. I can't remember which book I found that in, but basically they have 120 hit points, and because I got up to 400 hit points on the bottom of here, when I zoom in, I can just fill those in as I work. So if I'm playing the game, oh no, the picture of each NPC. Ah, yes, that was on these cards. That was online, and I found that on the DCC Rocks Facebook group. They were showing those off. Let me see if I've got it in my drop-down lists. There it is. Dungeon Crawl. Here we go. If I now switch to my Raspberry Pi, we can do a little bit of having a look at that because I believe I've got it here in one of my shortcuts under my role-playing section. RPG, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Level 0 Hirelings. There's someone called Julius RPG Cove. And basically they took all the artwork from the Dungeon Crawl Classics books, and then you just go to the website. So if you look for that, Julius RPG Cove. Oh no, I can actually copy that into the chat. Oh no, I can't. I've got this on a different computer. But then you just go generate 0 level characters and it will give you a PDF. Oh, they're the 0 level characters, and then you've got hirelings down there. So again, if you were are great for writing an adventure as well, if you just wanted some weird oddbod characters, they've put names in here as well. So wherever they're generating these from, they're obviously creating the whole deal. So yeah, that's a good little tour. So again, kind of relevant for this stream because I'm talking about adventure writing, and this is a handy tip to use these. So juliusrpgcove.com, and they have a whole load of stuff for characters. So a bit like the Purple Wizard tool, but this one, obviously they've done this thing where they put the nice little character faces and things in there as well. Good, you found it, excellent. So yeah, I'm now going to switch back to what I was doing, and which is writing this adventure. And if I shift things around a little here, I'll get down to the next bit that I was working on. So I was in a dungeon. Well, it's in a tomb. Just come up to the top. There it is. It's probably written above there. No. Anyway, so this is this Rocksmith tomb, and we were working the way through. Myra Meagles was a character that I discovered in room 6. We've been in there in stasis, and she's like a cleric with a harm spell, and she's also suffering some madness that I rolled up. And then from there we went into room 4 that was just a bogged down damp room, and then room 2, which had a large sort of carpet rug. So the last bit I did before we left last week on that room 2 was so the hallway's there, and then room 2, the antechamber, contains a lot of rotten sodden furnishings, carpet and rugs. Opposite the entrance to the west is a double door that is ornate and slightly ajar, with both doors opening into the room, revealing a visible crack down the centre to a dark room beyond. I'm going to just say that the large faded red carpet on the floor in here is soaked with water and rotten, much like the rest of the furnishings. So that's where I've then said there's a poison needle trap on the open door. Why did I just say that? There's a poison needle trap on the open door. I repeated myself saying it. Open door. If someone reaches from the already ajar double door, it will spring from the edge. So DC, I'll just say trap, DC, I'll just say 15 if they look at the edge of the door before they pull it open. And careful pulling of the door will avoid the spring. I need to define that poison, so that's one thing to have a look in the adventure in the book. Which is probably just do that now, is just dive straight in here, because it's always good to get a good poison, isn't it, at certain points. So that's the monster alphabet, although there are poison monsters and you could always use that to generate the thing there. So we've got potions. I wonder if there's a creature that has a poison bite that we could use just to make things a little bit more interesting. I also had one in here that they had interesting monster blood that could be used at the same time. So let's have a dive over anyway to the desktop and then have a look in the. I'm going to have a look in the monster alphabet for a poison. Just zoom out a bit because I can just see that I've gone a bit too far out. Get that into focus. There we go. So yeah, there's here poisonous. Some creatures' blood is toxic. And I'm just randomly going to flip through because I need some inspiration, and rather than just jumping on a poison, I'm going to look at something that's interesting that may have an effect on someone. So 12 insidious insect attacks. That might have something poisonous. No. Infernals. Layer. Mimic. We had some of those the other week. Well, here we go. So straight onto the noxious page here in the Dungeon alphabet, and I've just seen something interesting here. That with a sputtering hiss, the monster launches a volley of frothy spittle. So I was just going to actually randomly use this to create the poison, and then I'm going to just come up with a a stamina save based on that. So there's a D8 in there, but I'm going to pick. I'm just going to say blindness is quite a dangerous thing to have, isn't it? So I'm going to say that it causes a blindness, the poison, if you're hit. So if I go back to the desktop, there it is. So I'm going to say what should I say is the save DC auto. I'm going to say 14. And that's going to causes blindness. Just to make it temporary. I think it's quite a good disabling effect on someone coming through. Okay, save fortitude. DC 14 causes blindness for 1d4 minutes. Then I've said when a character passes over the centre of the main red room rug, they get a great sense of vertigo and their eyes are drawn down to a map stitched into the carpet. Now the map is going to be a map to the levels in the obelisk, actually built into the carpet, woven in. So one of the people that was watching this last week suggested that it could be like a mimic in here that attacked. So I then built the construct, and I used one of the octopus attacks from the main DCC book for this, because it's got 6 D20 action dice, so it's got 6 attacks basically. And I had the carpet slap do 1d6. That's quite a lot for 6 attacks, isn't it? Maybe I should make that. I think I'm going to make that 1d5, even though that's not a great step down. And also, it hasn't got that many hits. So no, that was what I remembered saying last week. I ended up giving it a relatively low wound factor. Actually, now thinking about it, given this is like a level 3 game, I think I should say like 3d6 is its wounds, just to boost it up a bit. I'll just put starting numbers of 10 in there for now. Yep, so there we have that room. So the final room, I need to do the final room. So basically, if we go back up to that map, also I know other thing I can do here to make this a bit easier for me to see. Here we go, that's not what I wanted. Nearly there. Right, so if I fire up the desktop again, I will have a look at the dungeon alphabet for some details on that room. I'll also get rid of some of this other stuff. So R is for rooms, and that gives you sort of a general view of what the room was going to be, but I was going to potentially do something a bit more interesting in here, and have a statue in the middle of this room. So if we look back at the map and just go back to the desktop, we can see that that final room, that they've just come through this room with the attacking mimic, where the entire floor in here is a red carpet that attacks, sense of vertigo in the middle, poison trap on the double door, although the door is already ajar because it's sort of rotten and old. If they just say, okay, we'll pull that open, they've got a chance of being blinded if someone gets caught on there for a few minutes. And then in room 5, we've got a statue. So that's what's on the column there. So I go to page 59 for the statue. See how this sort of weaves into things. May also put a relic, another relic in here, but let's have a look at the statue table. So basically with a statue table, you basically roll to see the figure depicted initially, and that's a D20. So I'll roll that in view actually, why not? Yeah, just roll off the table like that. This is how I should do it. Slightly on an angle, but number 9. Oh, it depicts a dragon. Now that is interesting because that ties into the adventure, because we have a dragon theme going with a cleric that is dead, that was her mace, and she's buried in here as well. So dragon. So that's going to depict the dragon that we spoke about in the previous session. I can't remember the name of it, but I wrote it down. And let's see what it's made of. Let's see if I can make this work so that it doesn't, it's not on a massive tilt. So it's made of stone. Woo! And 16 special properties. It says 10% chance per dungeon level. Well, I'll roll it and see anyway. Statues decorated with gems or jewels. Removing these may have some dire consequences. So that's a classic one. Let's roll again and see if there's anything else interesting. 8. Portion of the statue is missing. Replacing missing component will result in a helpful, harmful effect. Okay, that's the one I like. I think there'll be something like a missing lower jaw from there. So that's one thing about this room, but I do want a couple of creatures in here as well. So if I just write that down before I forget. So dragon, stone statue, and it's going to have a missing jaw, missing lower jaw. Then I'm going to go and see if I can find some creatures for this same place. So that's a very reflective Cthulhu alphabet. So monster alphabets. Let's just randomly dive in here and see what we're going to get. Right. So basically, I could roll a D100 to give me a page. I was thinking it's a tomb, so it would be undead, but maybe it could be a construct or something. So I'm going to roll a D100 in here and just see what comes up. Now 17, that just gives me a page. Celestial, that's going to be slightly powerful. But yeah, it could be like an avatar of Celestial or followers or something. Why not? Let's have a look what's on 16. I mean, it is Goodman Games, isn't it? So the adventures, you're meant to like dive in there with some powerful stuff. It doesn't always need to be just another room with a skeleton to defeat. So here we go. Yeah, so there's a D7 now. So this is where we use the funky dice. There's my D7. Look at the shape of that. And rolls. So I've got a 6. So let's have a look. Vigilance against mortal infernal incursion. Interesting, because that sort of ties with the balance that we were trying to address with a cleric that I found in the last couple of rooms ago, where there's a cleric and her spirit has been placed inside a mace, and I've detailed out what that mace is, which I'll flip to and I'll just go back over that. Because she wants to address the balance with that mace, so she's also was trying to kill a dragon, and this happens to be a dragon statue as well. So this is getting a little bit interesting, as in it's tying into the adventure that I was doing there. So, number 6, vigilance against mortal. Well, that's quite interesting. And since, yeah, so maybe this is where we could leave a big hint that this may be some sort of local, the dragon doesn't like, perhaps, Idonaea, something along those lines, that, and there's some kind of message to that. So let's have a look at these qualities. Another D7, 7 for luck, gets a 6. Powers. Oh, I always like this. D20, let's see what the powers are. 1, able to smite sinners from afar. Okay, I'll take that. Whatever's here, whatever avatar or something. Smite from a distance. Maybe someone with a really, really long weapon, or it could just be some sort of magical ability. Body. Oh, so basically you can work your way the whole way through here. Now this is interesting. So we've already said that there's a dragon there. So maybe it is a maybe beside the statue or the statue. Maybe there's a dragon warrior. Because the rest of the theme with the main dungeon, the obelisk, is all about having a kind of almost Egyptian theme, with the main characters from the adventure being kind of unusually headed gnolls with your usual classic kind of eagle heads and things like that from the Egyptian theme going through it. So it would be a bit different to have a a dragon. So let's roll it. D7. Let's see what it's going to be. Let the table tell me. 5. It's an ibis. Okay, so that kind of works. Ibis. So this is some sort of dusty defender of the, or maybe not. Maybe a glowing defender or something. I'll work on that thought. But an ibis head. And the body is... What have we got here? So yeah, set D7 first of all. 6. A lion body. Okay, I'll take it. Lion body. And then why does it come to... And then it says unusual colour. If you want an unusual colour, why not? D7 again. 2. Gold. Well, that kind of ties in with the lion. So I'll just go normal. Or should we go D6 to see if it's got unusual limbs? Why not? 1. 1d6 again for body parts. Longer than normal. Okay, so it's a long lion with an extending neck. Why not? Because it's got that long ibis, long neck. That's what's going to have. And let's keep going through. So eyes, D7 again. 6. Unusual number of eyes. Okay, yeah, I like it. Let's roll, see where they're placed. 6. Shoulders? It doesn't have it. It says roll a D7 and it only goes up to 5. Is that an oversight? Roll a D7, there's only 5? I think I'm going to roll a D5. Maybe I discovered a minor typo in there. So 3, forehead. Okay, so this weird thing has got maybe 6 eyes in its ibis forehead. Yeah, so basically it's going to be a bit weird. I'm not going to give it wings. I'll roll on its voice, which is a D12. That looks like a 12. 10. Thunderous. Okay. Thunderous voice. Or something along those lines.
You will cut off your legs, your arms, and your head.
So we have a thunderous voice too. And powers. Now we've done this smite from afar. Divine instruments. Well, if it can do damage from afar, I'm going to say it has like a sonic attack, like a cry. So okay, so I'm now thinking that this room has the statue, but beside it is like an avatar of Idoneia, the god, and Idoneia has left this guarding the statue with some sort of goal to, because she's got something against the dragon. We'll come back to the dragon in a moment when we get back into the text. But maybe under one of its lion clawed feet is the dragon's jaw or something, and by replacing the dragon's jaw will give some sort of benefit for the dragon. So basically Idoneia is trying to prevent the statue being made complete again. But the characters at this point won't know anything really about Idoneia, although this avatar will be unhappy with anybody that's trying to make the statue whole again, and that's maybe where they'll see a little why is the lion stood on the stony lower jaw of that dragon. Will they want to fight it, and afterwards will they make that dragon whole again? That's going to be interesting. But in the classic way that I have been doing, I now need to find some stats for it and actually give it some sonic attacks and things. So if I go to the main book and then just have a look for some beasts, like I'll have a look for lion, and then I'll just have a look for, say, sonic attack or something in there as well, and then I'll do the stat block for this creature. So get to the monsters, the standard ones. Snake, troglodyte, lion's going to be in here somewhere. Slug. Griffin. You know what, a griffin would actually probably be a good base for this creature, because it's got an ibis face, it's got many eyes, but it's got a lion's body. You know, griffin's pretty close to that, isn't it? It's just a slightly hybrid griffin with a weird long neck and beak. So it's going to have like a long reach. But it hasn't got wings. We've said already it's like a normal lion, so we'll basically be removing the wings and the flight and that speed that comes from the wings, but we'll be adding on a sonic attack, because I said it had like a weird booming voice. Okay, so I'm going to use the Griffin stat block and move over and do that. So here we have the desktop, and there we are. We're in room 5. The statue is a dragon, which we've worked out, and we found that something is defending or standing on the lower jaw of the dragon that's been removed from the statue for some reason or another. And we'll get down to that section here. So Myra Eagle's tomb, area 2, and it was area 5, wasn't it? So basically, if I'd like take a copy of that whole area, because I need a stat block as well, and just repeat that. Got it. So this is now going to be area 5. Worship room. A large room with dry and cracked flagstones. Hi Robin, a bit like a chimera sort of thing. Yes, yeah, hi Mark. Okay, chat's not on, apparently. Have a good one. No, chat's there, I can see you. Just focused on the book at the moment, but thanks for popping in and saying hello. So a large room with dry and cracked flagstones, with a raised central area where a 10-foot dragon statue made of stone is standing. So then I will just say attention is immediately drawn to a golden glowing beast that has curled around the base of the dragon. But I'll just say the beast. Oversized lion. Neck. A lengthy beak. And half a dozen eyes. Lock on to whoever entered the room. So basically we'll say there no, we want locked on, lock onto everything in the room. So in the block below we'll say here this beast is an avatar. The name has left it here to guard the dragon statue. And the dragon, spelled here wrong. The dragon, we can go up to see what that dragon is, but I'll just write in there. So we'll call it Ibis Avatar for now, in terms of what the creature is. And then go a bit further up to read about the dragon again, which was part of another. So here we go. The head of a dragon family that Yennis was fighting, and this was the cleric that died, and her spirit's in a mace that the characters can find in the main throne room. It's a mostly black dragon with grey patches on the back and head. Her breath is like being sandblasted by a volcano's pyroclastic flow. And her name is what I'm looking for here, is Gak-Lagan-Thorn. Gak-Lagan-Thorn, okay. Bit of a mouthful. May reduce that later to make it easier to read. So here it is. So the beast is an avatar of Idonea. She is left here to guard the dragon statue of Gak-Lagan-Thorn, who's a dragon who is currently residing beyond, and the place is called Copenhagen. So, what does it mean for the plot and what goes on here though? So basically, the statue who's currently residing to the north, who is an ancient black dragon, still alive and currently residing in the north beyond Copenhagen. So I'll then say the Rocksmith family worship the dragon, and by placing her statue dedicated to her. So then I'll say something about Idonea. So Idonea has broken the statue, which also so Gak-Lagan-Thorn and has left her avatar here to prevent So before I say that, I need to mention the statue. Its lower jaw removed, and the broken part is beneath. Good. It has broken the statue, which also breaks the family altogether, and has left our avatar here to prevent the statue from being made whole again. So, Ibis, Griffin, let's do the stat block. So basically initiative of a Griffin, so I'm just taking it from the book, +2. This thing's alignment's going to be, I'm going to say it's going to be lawful, because it's the goddess's representation. It's going to have high AC, like the Griffin, and 7d10 hit points. but I'm just going to give it I'm going to give it a movement of 40 because it's not going to be able to fly 80, but it's going to move very swiftly on the ground, I'll say. Then its attacks are, well, it's going to have that beak stab, like a spear essentially. I can spell beak right. Beak stab. Beach stab. Let's think about also the fact it's going to have a claw and it's going to have a sonic attack. So I'm not so sure now it needs a full beak attack. So yeah, let's go sonic. So it's sonic spear because it's got a thunderous voice. So it's going to like scream from the beak and have like a striking sonic spear that kind of comes sticking out. We'll go for that. And then otherwise it will have its claws from its lion body. So if I say the sonic spear can strike at far, so basically it's going to be a ranged attack. But we will make it the same. We'll sort of follow the Griffin stats. So that's a +9 and the damage is 2d6. So it's going to be quite nasty. And then the claw itself on here is +5. And I imagine it's something like a d8. Let's have a look. That's 1d6. 6. And action-wise, it's going to have 2d20 action dice. So it can either, it could do two claws. So 2d20 action dice. And I'll just say claw times 2. And so I know that. And I haven't got my calculator up to work. What I do is I work out the average of the 7d10 and I shove that into the hits, but I'm not going to do that at the moment because I don't have it to hand. So fortitude is going to be 7 and then 8 and then 4 for the, so +7. Wow, this thing has got some fortitude and great reflex too. And then +4. Oops. So great will save as well. They're generally good all round. AC, and that's all done. So now I'll write it up underneath to describe it. The Ibis avatar. So of Idonaea. I could come up with a better name, couldn't I, than just Ibis? I could call it Sonic Aviation. Sonic Aviator, that's like totally not appropriate. But it's also not a construct, so I'll just say that it's a beast. Right. Oh, it's also celestial, isn't it? But we'll write that up later. So Ibis of Avatar of Idonaea. This monster has an oversized, so I'll just say something like 8 foot long, lion's body, long head, long neck, and head of an ibis. It has a booming, thunderous screech that is paired with a sonic spear that can be screamed out to a range of, let's say, 40 foot, well, 60 foot. I'm going to say it's typically, oh, the other thing is the head has 6 eyes which lock on to entering the room, not entering the room, which lock on to target. I'm not sure whether I need to give it anything special for having the multiple eyes, because it's got the sonic attack. Yeah, obviously has 6 eyes, just locking onto multiple targets. The long, slender, over 5 foot long. So we're looking okay there. We've done the creature. I need to put its base stats on, but I'll work that out once I've just got the averages, and then I'll drop that in there later. I haven't got the right web page up. I've got a good one for sorting that out on dice, where you just put the number of tens and or the number of whatever it is, and it will give you the average total, and I normally stick that in. But I might ramp it up a bit as well, depending on what the monster is. Now the only thing is whether it could do more than one sonic spear around. I'll tell you what the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say the sonic spear can go through walls, just to make it just a little bit more interesting. So if I say special sonic spear, once per round, the ibis avatar, for want of a better word, I need to think of a name for it. The ibis avatar will scream with a thunderous howl, releasing a spear of sound. I'll just see, and I'll say this visible. If I can get my keyboard in order. Let's move down as well so we can see where we are. This visible streak, or should I say wave? Let's say this visible wave of piercing sound can target out to 60 foot, and there we go. This is the feature of its eyes, and due to now I'll just say and the ibis, so both see and fire its screeching spear of sound through walls up to a thickness of, let's just say, 5 foot. So yeah, that's the special ability that all these multiple eyes has given this goddess's avatar. So just give that some bold. So I'm quite happy with that. I mean, it's basically a griffin with an ibis head with multiple eyes and a long beak, and it's shooting a stream of sound that comes out like a spear. The only other thing is to just mention, so I've said Ideen has broken the statue, which breaks the family bond to Galactlan Thorn, the dragon, and has left her avatar here to prevent it being made whole again. And it's worth just saying, let's just say the avatar will not attack unless the statue, unless it is either attacked itself or someone approaches within 10 foot of the statue. So basically they can creep around the room. What the hell's going on? There's this moving line thing wrapped around the base of a stone dragon statue. The only thing I'm going to say about the stone dragon statue is because it's a black dragon itself, I'm going to say the stone is also black. So I'm going to say that a dragon statue made of mottled black and grey granite and it just gives it a little bit of flavour to, and does link back to the fact that the dragon itself is a black one, kind of lives in a volcano in Copenhagen as well. So yeah, that's that. That's that final room done. It does link back. What I haven't said is what happens when it's made whole. So what happens when the jaw's put on and they defeat the beast. So I need to probably just drop a little note in here. So just say if the dragon's lower jaw is replaced, then I can say Gargan's Thorn will be alerted to the presence of Idonaea, the god, and will immediately will rise from her ancient slumber to investigate the oblex until, so with the jaw, with the statue incomplete, Gargan's Thorn has been blind to the presence within her territory. Got that spelled right. So yeah, basically if we fire up the map, just to talk through that, so essentially north of Copenhagen at the top of that map there. Let me actually go to the one on the table because I can scribble, well, sort of talk through it on the table as well, which makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, so there's the map. So north of Copenhagen up here we have the dwarfs, and to the north of here is where that dragon is, and I haven't featured that on the map yet because it just sort of came up from the last couple of sessions that there was a dragon in the area. But at the moment they're in the barrows here, and the Rocksmith's family obviously owed some kind of fealty to the dragon, were worshipping it or something. Maybe they just made offerings to it in the older times. But the dragon itself is dying, which I've mentioned before in the previous session, plus Idonaea, the goddess, is dying, and they've kind of become bonded while their hearts are slowing and dropping to a slow beat. Or maybe they're not aware of each other's presence, so well, obviously Idonaea is aware of the dragon, but the dragon has been blinded from viewing this area of her territories and maybe hasn't paid it much attention recently during the last 50 to 100 years, because that statue has been broken and her bond doesn't give her oversight of this area anymore. With the statue being made whole again, if they pick up the lower jaw and place it on the bottom of the statue, it's going to come looking. So that's going to be the trigger. Now that's a bigger part of the story. It may even not play part in this initial adventure that happens in the Obelix, but essentially it does mean that there's a little bit of an interesting piece here, and the players may want to not bother putting the statue back together, or they may get beaten by the from the creature in there anyway, which we've just defined the Ibis avatar by using the book. So yeah, so I'm just going to finish a little bit early because I was already actually, I'm near the end of my slot anyway, but which I'll do a quick recap before I go anyhow. But I'm glad I've now basically nearly finished every room in the barrow. I've got one more creature which I was going to do, like the ghost of the old priestess cleric that had died in here, and she was like a fighter of the dragon. She was trying to bring balance back to the area, so her ghost is remaining, and I was going to make her ghost like something that could potentially go along with the party, because she's sort of bound to her mace and her spirit. So when they walk into the room, if they've carried the mace in there, they'll draw her attention as well. That's if they've picked up the mace from the other room. And I'll just go back through what that mace is. Essentially in the main burial chamber in here. So where is it? So Barrow Area 1, which is the main burial chamber, it's lined with memorials to the Rocksmith family. The floor is covered in inscriptions scribed in ancient scrolls. And I'm also going to say, at this point, it's also, and a range of winged dragon forms are also featured. I'll just say are featured. A feature of the. Oops. No, let's just say of the floor. So, oops. So essentially, it's again hinting that they had some kind of dragon worship in there. But I'm going to say, unlike the rest of the barrow, this floor is tiled in rock in the same black obsidian as the obelisk. Toward the east end of the chamber is a large memorial stone covered in glowing blue glyphs that are very small objects, including a shield mounted in the memorial stone. So as far as the characters and players are concerned, it looks like that shield's mounted on the stone, but we rolled up to say that it was actually strongly magnetic. So anything within 20 foot of the glowing stone, players will feel all metallic objects are drawn to it. To avoid the pull of stone, they need to make a reflex saves of DC at 20 foot. Any failure will see a random item fling from their arms and clang to position on the rock. And then a DC 20 required to remove it. And then I could just say something like multiple characters can work together to remove locked on items. And then I've said the glyphs require a wizard to make an arcane check of DC 18 to understand the meaning. They described a spell and ritual of death, which is slowly killing Iodine, the goddess in the obelisk. She has survived 1,000 years resisting the spell. However, she has now weeks left before she expires. If the characters explore the glyphs, they will notice the name Idonea is mentioned several times. So basically, these guys like the dragon, but don't like the goddess Idonea. So that's the situation. And then on the lower surface, there's carved an image of the obelisk. Unusually, obelisk is featured within what looks like a rolling dune landscape, and there's a large structure with stairs. So this is where the obelisk was before it was transported here. And then items pinned on the memorial stone include, and this is just basically a range of treasure that they can get. But the main one is the Unseen Retribution, which is a mace. So I'm just going to make that a little bit more obvious here. Unseen Retribution. So let's just say mace, or I'm trying to see if it's so intelligent mace. No, I'm just going to leave it there. A mace with a bone shaft and head detailed with a handle bound with wire metal. I'll just say wire. Unseen Retribution, Intelligence 12, vocal and telepathic communication with wielder. Yennis Deadlock is the name of the female cleric that on her death committed to continue to address the balance in the fight against a family of dragons, and her spirit is bound into the bone mace as a relic. Yennis can see invisible beings, however she will have to communicate with the wielder to point out where they are. So if I just say special there, so we know what's special about it. When speaking, she has a clear, defined, calm voice and keep repeating the need to address the balance after. So the other thing about this weapon is if you kill something chaotic, you then have to address the balance and you'll be compelled to kill something lawful. So it's kind of the idea that she was also after the dragon. But it's got Dragonbane on the mace too. And the purpose of this mace is to address the balance along with a mountain range known as Kobans to the north of Scarpsea. And then I did a little bit of extra detail on the dragon family as well, which I can put into another section. So I think that's going to be it. So I've done a little bit more. I had some technical faults initially, so sorry about that on this particular recording. But I think I've dived in and done a reasonable job of getting an extra monster and finishing that chamber in there. And before next week, I'll do a little bit of tidy up as well. And then we'll be back to the obelisk, I think, which is the main dungeon. So if I scooch down a bit further, we've got I've got a bad stat block there that needs fixing. But the obelisk level 1, I think I've done every room on this level 1 of the obelisk. That's already sorted, including the chambers on this side here in 3 and 3A, where they'll meet with Idonea, the goddess, initially seeing one of her dream visions rather than seeing her as an illusion. That's one of her features. And then I also started to do the second level within there as well, which will be further down. I need to do those stat blocks and tidy those up, and because I want them to have that sort of tighter, smaller stat block that I've been doing at the top. And then I've got level 2, which has shrunk up here unusually. Yeah. That was great, I enjoyed watching your process. How did you make the map? I drew the map, the original map. So yeah, this one on the desktop, thanks for watching, is I just drew that. So actually there's on my YouTube channel, there is a whole section of this creation process where I basically sketched this out. I just used one of these pens and drew the whole thing out step by step. And that's basically how I started this whole process, just as a general tip. Is, you know, so like chicken and the egg, isn't it? How do you start? Do you start with a kind of a weird plot or something, or do you start with a map? And I started with a map, so I drew out this map and then basically worked through every section, putting the different locations and filling them out. And then eventually, once I've got all the locations, it's going to inform the plot for me anyway, because basically I've got that kind of feeding in from this whole goddess theme that's happening inside the obelisk. So yeah, great. So I'll just say goodbye then, and thanks for watching if you've been viewing, and I should be back next week. Plus I normally upload this onto the Facebook Dungeon Crawl Classics Rocks Facebook group, or up onto my YouTube as well. So thanks for listening in, and I'll shut down now. Cheers, bye.